Hey everybody, and welcome back. This is day 5, Advent of Code, test-driven development with PHP-spec. So today's puzzle is, doesn't he have internals for this? So Santa's got a big list of strings, and I've copied those in here into input text. And he wants to find out how many nice strings there are and how many not nice strings or naughty strings are there. So he defines a nice string by saying that the string has to have at least 3 vowels, so not counting Y, so A, E, I, O, or U. It has to contain one letter that appears twice in a row, so like an AA or a BB or whatever. And it cannot contain the strings AB or CD or CC, or I'm sorry, AB, CD, PQ, or XY, even if those are part of one of the other requirements, right? So even if it's AAB, then that wouldn't work, even though that has a double letter because AB is in there. So this one's pretty straightforward. I'm hoping it won't take all that long, but let's get started. So to get going, I want to create my my runner. So we'll do a day 5 puzzle 1. Oh, I need to describe it. And then we'll run it. Alright, and we have our puzzle. And let's open up the source for that. So inside here we want to make our invoke. And the way it's going to work is we're going to have our validator, essentially a validator chain. And I'm thinking we want to have probably 3 different validators that will all run together. And if any one of them fails, then it's not a nice string, it's a naughty string. So let's see what our structure could look like. We'll have our input, we'll do file so we can get back everything as an array. And we'll go ... input day 5 input text. We're going to loop over that. Input as we'll call it, I don't know, word or something. And let's count. Nice equals 0. And at the end we'll say there were nice strings. Okay, and we want to say if all 3 of these things are correct, right? So if we have our 3 vowels, we have our duplicated letter, and we have that it does not contain our particular strings that we don't want to see. So let's go ahead and make those, even though they don't exist yet. So we're going to do contains 3 vowels equals new contains 3 vowels, and we'll do contains duplicated letter equals new has duplicated letter. Having some typing problems today. And our last one does not contain bad strings equals new no bad strings. So we've got these 3 classes that we're going to make. Each one has its own job to do. It's going to determine if each of one of these things is correct. And I think I'll go ahead and use a magic invoke on them. So the way that it would work if these existed is we would say if contains 3 vowels word and contains duplicated letter word and ... does not contain bad strings, word, then we're going to count that as being a nice string. Otherwise, we won't. So, makes sense. I'm going to shut off the debugger now and let the thing pass on. And let's see. Alright, so we need to define these classes. So we'll do phpspec describe day 5 contains 3 vowels, and we'll run it. And let's make some spec. Contains 3 vowels, so it's going to have an invoke, and we'll say public function it will be valid if string has 3 vowels, and conversely it will not be valid b if string does not have 3 vowels. Alright, so this we'll do invoke. Let's say A, B, C, D, E, I, O, U. That should be valid. Should be true. This invoke AEI should be true. Down here, this invoke C, D, E, F, G, H, I that just has 2 should be false, and B, C, D should be false. Alright, so that should be enough for a couple of pass or failing tests. We'll run it, create the invoke for us, we'll go back and make this work. So we're going to be passing in a word, and we'll say to me it seems like every one of these probably preg match or regular expression match is what's going to be needed. So we'll go ahead and make those. We'll start off with our pattern. We'll come back to that in a second. Word, and this function is going to return back a number of matches. So we're going to say return if it's equal to 3. We don't really care what the matches are, but we care about if it's A, E, I, O, or U. And let's run that. Alright, could be valid if, alright, it will be valid if the string has 3 vowels. Let's make sure my test is correct. A, E, I, O, U. Let's try preg match all. I think that might be the one. Nope. Alright. Three vowel spec. We've got A, E, I, O, U, A, E, I, O, U. Oh, you know what? At least 3, right? So greater than or equal. There's my problem. Alright, good. Okay. Contains 3 vowels is done. Let's do our next one. So back to puzzle. We've got phpspec describe day 5 has duplicated letter. We'll run it, create it. Let's go find our spec for it. Alright. It is valid if it has duplicated letter, and it is not valid if no duplicated letters. Alright, so this invoke on duplicated letter, we'll do a random stuff, should be true, this invoke random stuff with a duplicated HH in there. That should be true. Alright, and some invalid ones. Invoke no dupes there. Should be false. And this invoke. And I'll just face roll the keyboard there a little bit, get some invalid stuff. Should be false. Alright, let's run it. Make invoke, it should fail. Let's go find our code. Has duplicated letter. And again, this is another point of regular expressions to the rescue. There's an old joke. A programmer finds that he's got a problem that regular expressions can solve. Now he's got two problems. So let's make this one work. So if we'll do a return preg match, and we'll put in our pattern, our word, and this is going to return true if we've got at least one in there. So what we want to do is we want to match anything, and we're going to capture that. So put in a capture group, and we're going to say match anything. So and then we want to say if it's duplicated right afterwards. So we're going to refer back to that with $1, I believe. Let's see if that works. Maybe it's not $1 in this one. Let's go \1. Nope. Expected true got integer 1. Alright, we need to be a little bit more specific, so we'll say is greater than or equal to 1. The reason for that is our test should be is kind of doing a triple equals comparison. So we want to be a little more specific with that. So now it's matching on the ones that have a letter followed by that same letter or a symbol followed by the same symbol, and has duplicated letter is done. So let's go back to puzzle 1, and we want no bad strings. So phpspec describe run spec day, nope, not run, describe day 5, no bad strings. And we'll run it and make our thing. Let's go to our spec, make it public because it bugs me, and it should be valid if no bad strings, and it should not be valid if bad strings. Alright, so we'll do this invoke, and we want anything that doesn't have A, B, C, D, P, Q, or X, Y. So that seems valid. True. And this invoke, got some numbers and some letters in there, should be true. This invoke. Alright, and we'll do some stuff. We'll do an AB. Should be false. This invoke. And let's see, CD is our next one. We'll stick that up here. Should be false. Invoke. PQ is our next one. Go. Let's put that way up here. Let's put that at the beginning. Should be false. More random junk. And our last one, XY. And let's throw a PQ in there as well, just because. It should be really, really invalid then, right? So it should be false. Let's run this. Make our invoke. Let's go write our code. No bad strings. And this is our word. Alright, and we have return preg match. Again, we'll start our pattern, with word. And preg match, we want this to be 0, so we want no matching any of these things. And what we can do here is we just list them out. So we'll say, what was it again? AB or CD or PQ or XY. If we don't get any matches of those, then we should be good, and we are good. So let's run our code. So according to the site, my answer should be 238 if we've done this correctly, except for I want runner. So day 5, puzzle 1, and I got 238 nice strings. So that is that. Let's go ahead and do part 2. So part 2 says Santa's figured out the error of his ways. He figured to a better model of determining whether a string is naughty or nice. None of the old rules apply. They're all clearly ridiculous. So a nice string is one with all of the following properties. So it contains a pair of any two letters that appears at least twice in the string without overlapping, like XX, or sorry, XY, XY. Let's see, a pair of any two letters, their other example is AA, B, C, D, E, F, G, AA, so AA appears twice, but not just AAA, because even though there are two pairs, it overlaps. And then it also has to contain at least one letter which repeats with exactly one letter between them, so XYX or EFE inside of a string, or AAA, so the A's on the outside would match with the A in the middle counting as the one between. So this is almost the same exact problem. And let's go ahead and build our runner. So we'll do phpspec describe day 5 puzzle 2. Need a slash there. Alright, day 5 puzzle 2. Let's run it, create it. And I'm going to start with my puzzle 1 contents and change it a little. So we'll copy out our invoke function, go to puzzle 2, paste that in. Now instead of these strings we have contains double pair letters equals new has double pair of letters, and then our next one is has letters with guard between. And we'll do it has letters with guard between. Get rid of these guys, which makes this invalid. And we'll do contains double pair of letters word and has letters with guard between word. Alright, so that's all we needed to do for that one. Now we need to build this. So we'll do phpspec describe day 5 has double pair of letters. We'll run it, and has double pair of letters. It is valid if it has a double pair of letters, and it is not valid if no double pair. Alright, so we'll have, let's go about it a slightly different way. We'll say examples, and we'll make an array. So double pair of letters, we've got XY was one of our examples. We've got AA, B, C, D, E, F, G, AA. We've got I don't know, one other one. We'll say So we got two sets of double A's in there. All right, and we'll do for each examples as example, and we'll say this invoke example should be true. And down here we'll do the same kind of thing. Examples equals an array. In our array, non-valid AAA, and A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and B, C, A, D, E, F. That ought to be sufficient. And we'll loop it. And this invoke example should be false. Okay, let's run it. Make our invoke, come back down. We'll do has double pair of letters. All right, so in this case we have any two letters followed by stuff followed by those same two letters again. So it's going to be another capture group. So we'll say return preg match, put in our pattern, put in that. I'm going to rename it to word. I don't need to capture the matches, but we do need to know how many. So we're going to say if it's more, at least one, so more than or equal to one, greater than or equal to one. So we need to find our match. So we'll do that, followed by that. That matches two any characters, followed by one or more anythings, followed by that same thing again somewhere else. And let's run it, and that works. So this is our capture group right here. This is the thing we're caring about, is any two letters followed by 0 or more of any other letters, followed by that exact same thing we captured up here. So that causes our deal to work. Puzzle 2, our last bit, is has letters with guard between. So phpspec describe day 5 has letters with guard between. We'll run it, make it. Let's go do our spec. All right. We now have it is valid if two same letters have another letter between, and it is not valid if no guard between two same letters. Okay, and we'll just follow the same examples here. So we've got examples equals ABA, AAA, ODO, stuff, other stuff. All right, we're going to loop it. Examples as example, and this invoke example should be true. And we'll come down here, we'll get some more examples. Alright, no guards. So, there are no same letters, that should cover that case. We'll say the same letter, but we've got two guards. That should not be good. We've got the same letter without a guard, so stuff. Alright, so all of those should be invalid, and we'll loop over examples, and this invoke should be false. We'll run it, make our invoke, and we'll come back and make has letters with guard between, no, has letters with guard between. We'll make our code. Should have passed in that thing. Why did it not pass that in? Let's look back here. Has letters with guard between. Oh, because I forgot to put it in. Example. Alright. Let's get rid of that invoke, have it build it again, because, you know, that's way too much typing or something. Alright, much better. Alright. Return preg match. And again, everything about this screams regular expression to me, so that's what we're going to use. We got word. Alright, so our pattern, we want a letter followed by something else followed by that same letter, right? So this should be very, very similar to our very first one. We've got a capture group, and then we're going to have something else, and then we're going to have the original thing, right? So just that easy. That should be good. And I forgot to make it an actual Boolean. So if that is greater than or equal to 1, then we're good. We run it, everything's fine. Let's run our runner. So in this case, part 2, it says my answer is 69 if I've done this correctly. So let's see if I have. Day 5, puzzle 2, 69 nice strings. And that's all there is to say about that. So thank you all for joining, and hopefully we'll get some of the next ones up. I think we're on day 16 is out so far, so I'm 11 days behind right now. But we'll get there. Thanks for joining. Bye.